to the washing machine.
I was born and bred in Boston, at least you all know well.
Now moving from one nostalgic piece to the next, I'm here in Fox's Lane Museum with Pat Lynch, and what a treasure trove here, Pat. We're back in time. Tell me a little bit about, you were just telling me here about the washing
we're just
machine.
looking here at some of the old washing equipment. The very, very early washing machines, and even prior to the washing machines, where you have things like wash dollies and things, and of course the old washboards would be, a lot of people still remember those. And most of these washing machines, in actual fact, are manually operated, because this, the year before electricity was introduced in most houses. And of course you have the early baths as well, from the hip bath here, or a sponge bath which you actually stood into. It was like a big huge dish. And of course after washing you had to have ironing. And here you have a fantastic selection of irons from very early ones. The first one here was invented in 1738 by a fellow called Isaac Wilkinson. And moving on from that, then you had flat irons, you had gas irons for using town gas, as we had here in Youghal from about the 1830s to 1960s, I believe. You had Tailor's irons, and an interesting one there is a Tailor's Weasel. Yeah. It's called a Weasel because it's shaped like a weasel, and this is where the term "pop goes the weasel" come from. You popped
as in the song?
You popped it into a pawn shop, got out a few pence to buy your half-pound of tuppenny or ice, a half-pound of treacle, whatever it was. Now, the sewing machine was sort of the first machine to go into the home, if you like. And they became very popular from about the 1850s on, Wheeler and Wilson being one of the biggest original makers in America. Now, Singer was there as well around that time from the 1850s, but he wasn't initially very successful with his machines, but he came up with an idea for selling that nobody had ever thought of. So the Singer company invented, if you like, hire purchase. And with it, in fact, he doubled his sales in no time, and he finished up by buying out Wheeler and Wilson in 1905. That's why most people haven't heard of Wheeler and Wilson, even though they did fantastic work in the machines. I started collecting about 1970. I was trying to give up fags, cigarettes, and put money away each week. And I bought these down through the years, then visiting antique shops, antique fairs. Even initially, the tinkers on the side of the road, I'd be haggling with them over the price of a kettle or whatever, you know.
Even as a child, like, was this something that you were interested in when you were younger, or was it something that just developed?
I was always a hoarder. I never threw away anything. And even talk to my wife, she'll still tell you I'm a hoarding things. Only for her the house to be chock-a-block with junk altogether. But there are people in the 907. In fact, they're my own family, and the occasion of the photograph was these two came back from America, my aunt, in 907. And they obviously brought, this is my father, God rest him then, and my other two aunts and my grandfather, they brought new clothes to the family. That was my father with a lovely jacket with a fur collar on it. He wouldn't have been able to buy that out in Ballymacoda where we were born and reared.
When did you decide to open the museum then?
Well, I was collecting for about over 20 years before I opened the museum. I opened the museum around 1995, actually, I opened the museum. And I'm open then until now, and unfortunately, we're coming to the end of it at this stage. I've decided to close down and sell up because, well, it's very time consuming, and after 40 years of collecting and hoarding, restoring and showing it off, I think it's time to call a halt, you know. These are some nice electrical things here on top.
Does the collection span?
It's roughly from about 1850s to 1950s, because prior to the 1850s, most things at home would have been made by the local craftsman, the local blacksmith, or made in the local foundry or carpentry or whatever. And sort of from the 1850s on, they began to mass produce all this stuff, and that's where it all came from. You see, back prior to the famine, you had 8 million people living in Ireland. And of the people that lived in rural area, Ireland, 40% lived in one-room thatched houses. And they didn't even have outhouses because they could be evicted next week. And because of that then, if I just show you something here, they would have a dresser like this, because they had no outhouses. And at night time, they'd bring their hens in here, look, this one, and a double-sized one underneath, they'd have it for their geese. And that was called a coop, C-O-O-P. You might have heard the expression, they were cooped up. Can you imagine all their hens crammed in there? They'd been cooped up inside somewhere. So that was, your hens and geese were actually inside in the kitchen. And the cock would literally stand up on the top of the corner of the dresser. And from cock crow in the morning, that was the only alarm clock they had. The working hours back then was, they sort of referred to them as from cock crow in the morning until poke away at night. That was the hours they worked. Yeah. Then I found that being here, the kick was gone out of it, because the real, being a curator of a museum wasn't what I set out to be at all. So sitting down here with my arms folded, waiting for somebody to come in and even talking about the thing wasn't really the hobby. The hobby was going out, searching, bringing my hands and knees inside an antique shop and making a discovery. My goodness, this is some household gadget that I saw in a book. Or sometimes I'd notice a household gadget by the maker, but wouldn't know what it was, and tried to do a whole lot of research to find out what it was then. Because I have a whole library of about 80 or 90 books out there related to this subject, this topic, household bygones. But I will miss it, but I still have the inventory, a copy of it, to look back on with nostalgia and say, well, there were the days when I was collecting things.
Wow, what a place. It really is an Aladdin's cave. Now, it's time to head over to Clay Castle recording studio, where I'm going to catch up with Warren and the lads from Synérgy.
You understand? You got freedom to choose, freedom to cry, freedom to lose, freedom to die, freedom to get, freedom to know, freedom to live, freedom to go.
So Warren and Simon from Synérgy, good to talk to you. Come here, that's fantastic, that song, Freedom, that's from your new album.
It is, it's from our new album, That's How It Feels. I'm just recording a live video and recording here tonight, so Clay Castle Studios. So.
And this is your second album, the first one being Transparency?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're hoping to make videos for every track on this album, because it's a good way for people to listen to them when they tend to listen to YouTube more often. So
that's something to look at, I think. It's, you know, yeah.
So it's fun doing videos as well. So this is a live take of the song with video cameras.
So how Synérgy got together in the first place, Simon?
Well, I suppose I was asked to join Synérgy about how long. I'd say you were playing for 2 years ago.
I suppose we started in our friend Kieran's house. We were just doing jamming, fireside sessions, jamming, and Frank, our lead singer, who's opted out of the interview, is a great songwriter, and he had lots of these tracks. And we just got together with Ollie and the other lads and just started to develop them into songs, and then we said we'd try them out live, and it just kind of kicked off and, you know, got the crowd dancing straight away. So we decided to record an album, and we've been at it ever since.
It's a real kind of fusion sound, isn't it? I think you're very heavily influenced by reggae, would that be right?
It would be. This particular track tonight is more of a funk-orientated thing, but most of the tracks are reggae influenced and ska and a hint of world music as well.
Oh, what's ska?
Ska
Is that gossip? Where I'm from, it's gossip. Do you have any ska?
It's a kind of it's a form of faster reggae, I suppose. It's one of the styles of reggae. Like Madness do a lot of it, and the Beat. So we have a few tracks like that. We have a few reggae tracks, and we have a few tracks like Celtic ones like Keela and stuff who we're influenced by, and we've got some ballads and country style tracks. So we just play all styles in our own kind of way.
Anything that gets, as long as it gets people dancing, you know, it's a good thing. So ska and reggae and tribal stuff really gets people dancing. You notice people dance different to different songs, and you know, we do like a calypso type song, and you get everyone coming out doing their best calypso style dance, you know. So it's cool. It's cool.
So it's got like, that's the main thing, isn't it? We thought that getting people back to when they used to go to like dance halls and dance, like to pubs and dance, and it wasn't really happening. So when you play sunshine, happy music like reggae and stuff, everyone just dances automatically. The feet move, and that's, you know, it's a great thing to do then at a pub and at a venue.
Brilliant upbeat tune there from Synérgy, and we wish the lads all the best with their new album. Well, that's it from Youghal for today. And you know, this really is a heritage town in every sense of the word. People here have such a burning desire to protect and honour and share their heritage, like Pat from the Fox's Lane Folk Museum. And what I love is how after 60 years since the making of Moby Dick here, it's still alive and fresh in the memories of all those who both took part and who were around in Youghal at the time. And with the likes of Mike Hackett's book and with the Moby Dick Festival, those wonderful stories will be passed on to a new generation, and what better way to do it than that. Now, if you have any information on an upcoming event in your local area, you can email us at cork@irishtv.ie or find us on Facebook and Twitter. But for now, from sunny Youghal by the sea, Slán agus Bana.